Alright, here is a pretty generic basic turbo 5.3 TH400. It's got a China trans brake in it and a 8.8 rear end out of a new edge. It's a little bit wider, otherwise all the 8.8s for the Mustang are pretty much the same. I need to figure out this intake piping. Should be pretty easy, pretty simple to get working, but not a huge concern at the moment. Same thing with the power steering. I'm just going to loop it and it'll be a manual rack. I know it's not the best for the racks, but this isn't going to be a daily driven car, and if it ever becomes a problem, I can just do a manual rack from Flaming River or something like that. Boost controller needs to get wired up still. I got a China Amazon wastegate. It's a 60 mil. Haven't used it yet. It looks like a knockoff of, I forgot which one. I think it's, no, I'm not even gonna say, I don't quite remember. Could also probably move this oil feed that way, so that way it's not going over this really hot piping. I think it'll be okay. It's not like this stuff stays in here forever. This is PTFE, so should in theory be fine. My drain is absolutely garbage. It goes from the bottom of the turbo all the way down and then into where the truck pan has its oil level sender. Got eBay fuel rails on some Snake Eater Performance 1500s. I am keeping the heater core because I do enjoy what they call drag and drive events. So that is like Hot Rod Drag Week, Summit Midwest Drags, Rocky Mountain Race Week. I've only done one, and it was Carolina Drag Cruise. I'm hoping within a month I'll be doing my second one, which is going to be the Street Neat event. A little more about the car. 5.3 out of a junkyard. I don't know which one. I tried to do the ICT billet low mount, but I fucked up drilling. I was just not taking my time. Tried to heel coil it, didn't work. So I will be doing one of the cut up stock brackets to make that work. Screwed that up, this one up down here, because there's a little metal bushing that goes in the front of the tab. I didn't realize that was not in there as I was tightening it, and well, it cracked. To fit this big turbo here and have a little bit of extra room, I got rid of the stock radiator that takes up the whole thing. Obviously no AC as well. And I got a like 66 or 68, one of the first gen Mustang radiators. I do believe it has more water capacity than the V6 one, and the V6 one never gave me an issue. My biggest concern is going to be that this fan that I got from Pep Boys for like 50 bucks is perhaps a little on the small side, but hey, we'll figure it out. Intercooler is $150, like 3.5 or 4-inch core. Just the cheapest thing that I could find, really. It's kind of the theme of the whole car. I bought this car as a V6, and it had a blown head gasket. I fixed the head gasket, see if I liked the car. I enjoyed driving it around. It was just super slow. This was the eventual plan, no matter what, but I got rear-ended. Got a big insurance paycheck, and I didn't feel guilty doing the swap. At 700 bucks, I sold the cats for 500. Add in the insurance money, and the actual sheet metal of the car has paid me, so not too sad about it. Going back to the radiator, this is going to be very scatterbrained, so if that's a concern, I'm sorry, but not a professional videographer or YouTuber, anything like that. I have the overflow going into just a generic catch can, overflow can, whatever you want to call it. And then for some reason, I am very paranoid about anything getting under the tires and sending me into a wall. So if this ever got full, there's usually a little tiny hole right here where it just kind of spurts up stuff everywhere. I have that going through this wire, this line, and this line I'm going to try and drill a hole and have it stick through there. So that way any water that decides to come up and through is going to spray it up and over the car, not under and into the tires. The turbo kit is a hooker jobby. I don't know the name of it, but it just kind of goes back, down, around. For something like this, it probably is a restriction, but I'm not too concerned. My whole thing is get out there, go have fun, and then I can always fix it and make it nicer later. So not a big concern there. Nothing much to say about the wheels. They're Poverty Stars. I forgot what size. And then in the back, these are just stock wheels right now that I'll use to just kind of drive around and do whatever with. I do have another Poverty Star, same set. It's a 28-inch tall tire, 10 wide on a 15-inch wheel. Haven't really made enough power to make use of them yet, but you know, we'll get there. In the car, it looks pretty much stock because it is almost entirely stock. I did pull the carpet up, pull all of the sound deadening out of it. Same thing with all the stuff in the rear seats. I actually cut the foam out of here because I thought it'd be funny to save a whole 2 ounces. I also pulled the foam out of behind the doors to save a whole 2 ounces. Try to do stuff like that, and then to simplify the car, this thing has a huge wiring harness that just goes everywhere. When I pulled pretty much all the interior out, everything behind the dash more or less stayed the same. But anything under and back, I ended up cutting out. Snip, snip, any wire that wasn't needed, I got rid of. I didn't have like a super fancy method of doing that. All I really did was pull the whole harness out, kind of trace the wires, see what went to where. So in the trunk, for example, there's the anti-theft shit and the fuel reset button thing. I chopped those, and then I pulled those all the way through out here and then out of there. Chopped it down up here and then down up here, and it worked out pretty well. I lost the automatic door locks and then the automatic button press stuff for the locks in the trunk. Same with the button, but I have a key. It's not a big deal for me to do that. I'm not one of those guys that likes to have a million switches on their cars, so this one would be the main power for the car. And then since I didn't want to pay $30 for a push to start button, I just did this, and I figure when it starts it's easy enough to just clap it down. So I need to make a plate for that. It does have the neutral safety switch off of this wired into it. Got my trans brake bump box. I screwed this button up, testing it, trying to figure it out because they have 4 fucking wires. One's for the LED. I'm a moron, I couldn't figure it out, so this likes to stick every once in a while. So my bump box will definitely just be a inch at a time, not the one where it creeps forward. Other than that, pretty generic car. I would like to find a manual seat rack, so that way I can get rid of this thing and save some weight that way. Probably save 20-30 pounds. It's not a lot, but you know, having fun. It's a really cheap way to enjoy the car. As far as the trunk goes, I have a little quick access to my kill switch. Out is on, in is off. I'm pretty sure that is per NHRA rules, so I would have preferred the other way, but it's the rule book, and I'm cool with doing that. This guy is just an Amazon fuel cell. I think it's like 6 gallons or 7 gallons. I have the vent. I did the cheapo boy vent where you just coil the wires a bunch of times and then have it out. Prevents gas spilling and stuff like that. This, if you weren't aware, is not the factory style harness, but I did. You can see what I did here where I cut the wires I didn't think I needed. Stuff I care about all still works. And then over here, this is a giant mess of wires. You get the fuel pump stuff, and then you got pretty much everything else. And then just an Amazon battery box. So I have just the alternator and the battery going on one half. So that way when I go to kill the car, the power for everything else, the main power for the car, the Holley stuff, the fuse panel that you saw in the car, the trans cooling fan, everything else is going to get shut off with it when it's pushed in. Figure that's probably the safest way I could wire that up, so that's what I did. I got that sticker. I'm actually in that magazine. I think it's like edition 9 is what they're calling it. And they did a whole thing about me, about how I basically suck at this whole sport. And it's pretty cool. I had fun. That's probably the reason why I think drag and drive stuff is so cool. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much the whole car. I did do a really shitty cowl hood. I had a 2nd gen F-body cowl hood that no one wanted to buy for $300 up on Facebook Marketplace for forever. Instead of just throwing it away, I figured I'll just use it on this. So it's really ugly, but it works. And that is the car. I have a tuning date on March 12th. I'm going to be going from here in Virginia up to Philadelphia. Yes, it's a long drive, but it's also, for a tuner that's got a pretty open schedule, and all he does is like this Turbo 5.3 stuff. So he does a decent job, at least from his track record. That's pretty much all I got to say about the car. Hope to be racing quite a bit in 2023. I will have to move from my current residence, so that's going to suck. That's definitely going to be a hiccup, especially because I've just recently got into this whole drag racing thing and went super deep into it. But hey, they got drag strips everywhere. This is America. It's the most common, racetrack, in my opinion. I can't back that up, but it's how I feel. And then just one oddity about this car. I didn't have enough alternator wire to go from the back of the car to where the alternator is going to be over here. So I just took a stud and then I used some wire that I pulled off of the car, and it's going to end up going to wherever the alternator is. It's got plenty of length to go up here, out here, down low. Not worried about it. This is a direct line to the battery, and then this is everything that can get killed by the kill switch, and I am pretty much completely out of space. I'd have to take a nut off. I've already removed the lock washer to get more on here, but thankfully I don't have to. So I guess that's where we'll finish off, because I don't have hardly anything else to say about the car other than I'm excited, and let's go racing.